Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Big Sky Hobby Corner. Um, we are actually going to start assembling some of our sub-assemblies now. We've got our wing panels built. We have our elevator and horizontal vertical stabilizer ready to go. So we're going to start with actually attaching the vertical fin to the horizontal fin. So let's reset the camera and I'll be right back. Okay, first order of business is to attach our rudder to our vertical stabilizer. So, I mean, it's just the same process as everything else we've used with these CA hinges. Wait, swing that out of the way. Got our hinges, our T-pins. They're slotted. Sometimes getting these things started can be a booger. Now, one thing you can do is go in there with your hobby knife. I didn't do it on any of these. Is go in there and clean these out. But with a little bit of patience, you can get it to work for you. Uh-oh, sounds like your kids. Alright, I'm going to go have to yell at the kids. Okay, I'm back. Well, I did go in there with the hobby knife and clean that bottom hinge slot out because it was kind of giving me some fit problems. It was giving me fits. Not the good kind either. But, like I said, it was a simple resolve. Just went in there and cleaned it out with the hobby knife. Just like that. Take our T-pins out. Just like that. And make sure you have full operation. And then we just glue it. Make sure you're all nice and straight. Can't see a thing I'm doing there. It's just applying the drops of CA to our hinges. Flip it over and do the same.
You weird.
Okay. Well, we have that attached, and next we're going to take our elevator. Okay. I may wind up having to replace the camera so you can see everything that's going on. We're going to take our elevator, and our rudder, we're going to slide them together like so. We're going to prepare the surfaces to glue, bolt or glue, whichever way you decide to go. As you can see, we have the bolt holes here. These two holes will be for the vertical stabilizer, where you can just bolt your tail section on. You don't have to glue this, but I am going to, called peace of mind. The reason why they made this a bolt-on feature is because this elevator and stabilizer is 37 inches. You still have to move it. They make it to where you can just unbolt this, unclip everything, and make it a lot easier to tote to the field. It may work great. I'm still going to epoxy everything and bolt it. So we'll see if I can find you guys the best view, and we'll continue.
Oh, never mind.
Ryan's down here borrowing tools. We were having to talk about how important it is to make sure they come back. So, okay, here we are. We have our stabilizers joined together. Make sure it's all kinds of getting a crowded workbench again. But this just slides right into this. Now, like I said, we're going to both epoxy and bolt. So you're going to need your 2 screws out of your hardware pack that came with your tail wheel, and a 7/64 Allen wrench as well. So first things first, we're going to mark on our stabilizer where we need to cut the film off. I'm just making a line straight back. On both sides, and we're going to take our X-Acto blade and cut that. I'm going to look on the bottom side here, see if there's any film that needs to come off on the underside. And no, we don't, because you can see right there it arcs up to ride the fuselage. So we're not going to remove any covering at that point. So pop that sucker off, set it aside. There is some film that we are going to take off, but that's on the side. So what you can do at this point, here we go. Just to kind of help you, you can take a steel rule or a straight edge, and just on the inside of that line, make a cut. And then the same thing over here. Again, we're just exposing the wood for the epoxy to bond to. And just a little line across the front. That metallic stuff, it's some funny stuff, that's for sure. It blows out different. It adheres differently. Oh, that's neat. This is all balsa construction, but right here is a plug of hardwood where our bolt is going to go through and attach to the vertical stabilizer. And we'll do the same thing to the back side. Sounds like the kids are watching the Price is Right up there. Yeah. And just take your knife and get underneath there. Just peel it up. Another hardwood plug there for that. Okay, and now on our vertical, you can see the line that transferred over. that needs to come off as well because we're going to put some epoxy in there. I'm just going to come down on the inside of that line a little bit. Trim that off. When I get this done, I'm going to cut the camera because I have to thaw out my epoxy again. We're probably going to use a 20 drop ratio. Goofy. The metallic stuff, it don't want to bond, but man, when it bites, it grabs a hold. All right, just like that, all of our hardwood is exposed. Now, I'll tell you right now, you don't have to epoxy this. You can just bolt it together if you want to. I'm just going to epoxy it just for peace of mind so that I know it's not going to come apart. And I'm going to use the bolts to pull everything and secure. That way it's nice and square as well. So let me thaw out some epoxy and we'll be right back. All right. Got our epoxy thawed out there. It's a 20 drop ratio. The way it's been going lately, I really have only about 20 minutes to work. When I heat it up, it kind of speeds up the set time on it. I noticed that yesterday. What did I epoxy yesterday? Anyway, I noticed that 20 minutes went by and the mixing cup was getting hot, and usually when it gets real hot like that, the epoxy is setting. So I want to make sure we get a good layer of epoxy on all of our exposed wood. And what I'm doing, I'm tilting this up so I can get my brush on the inside. It's like that's kind of hairy in there. It's weird. Just make sure we get epoxy, just more surface area to grab a hold of, right? Okay. And now on our vertical, we just want to get our plug and the exposed wood. It's only going to be in contact with the elevator at this time. And the reason that is, we don't want to affect the way this unit is going to attach to the fuselage. Oops, got a little on there. I have to wipe that off. Only getting the exposed wood that's coming in contact. Just like that, got a little drip there to clean up. It's all good, yo. Okay. Put that together like so. And our bolts in there. Kids are starting to become difficult. They're soon going to find themselves in solitary confinement. Okay, this is going to be difficult. Now see what they did. It's like they inserted a helicoil. Into a drilled hole, which is fine. There we go. I think that one took. You know, one thing you should probably do is go through it and check. Check your hardware. Make sure it's going to work. Okay, screws are installed. And we're going to take about half hour. Take a half hour break. I'm going to go get something to eat. Set it up and let it set up. What you want to do is make sure that your vertical is square. I'm just eyeballing it here. And if you have to, you can use a piece of tape to you can run it from the top over to the side and pull either side you need to. This actually looks really good. I'm going to step away and we're going to let this set and we'll come back and move on to the next step. Okay, here we are. We have our fuselage unbagged and up on the foam flight stand. This thing is huge. I can't get it all in the frame, so we're just going to have to work together here. Now what we have, the place where we put our empennage is going to be here. There's a slot here to hold the stinger off of the rudder or the vertical stabilizer. We have a slot up front here to kind of pull everything into line. Now I've already test fit and everything lines up really, really well. So all we really need to do now is trace our areas where we need to remove the film and go ahead and remove that, and we'll get everything epoxied in really well. Now, our tail feathers here is considered an empennage. And I'm going to go ahead and slide it in place. And this airplane really tests the limits of our stand. I mean, it's up to 30 cc, and he wasn't joking. It is. So what we're going to do first, we're going to get our black Sharpie marker. Find what I did with it. Right there. There's your problem. And we're just going to trace where we need to remove material. Just like so. Should be good along that, but I'm still putting a mark there. Just like that. Now, the fun part. We're going to try to carefully turn this thing over so we can get to the bottom side without dropping anything or knocking anything off. Wow. Okay. This is where this thing being adjustable comes in really handy. Just notch that out. I tightened everything super tight so it wouldn't move on me. Just like that. Got it up enough. gonna, with one hand, hold everything in place, and with the other, draw our marks. Just like that. Don't forget, we got to remove some film off of our stinger that goes in there. All right. Got everything whopper job like that now. It wants to slide forward. It's easy to fix. Loosen our holders up a little bit. Just bring it back down. Boom, just like that. Okay, we'll take a look at what we have here. All right. So we've got a little section here we need to take out, and the rest of the work is going to be on the bottom side of the elevator. Ain't no thing. So using the same method, I'm going to, because all this is huge, I'm going to do this just off camera, get it done real quick. Okay, it's time to epoxy. I've got everything trimmed, cut out, ready to go on the fuselage too. We're going to mix up a pretty healthy amount of epoxy, and then we're going to go in there. I'm going to paint it on the fuselage first, and then we're going to come back and get the tail section, and then we're going to apply everything, make sure it's square, and then walk away for about an hour. So what do you say we get to work and do some stuff? We'll set that out of the way for now. I'm probably going to go with a pretty healthy mix of epoxy here. After I answer this, just got a call that more kids are showing up. Oh boy. So, well, I want to get this thing epoxied and set. That way I can play referee with more kids. And what I did, I got a 40 drop ratio going on here. Get that mixed up really well. What I want to do first, we have this trough here that we need to epoxy. So what I'll do, I'll just load my brush up really good. Just go ahead get the trough and that little strip really well. Okay, and now we're going to get this landing, this flat here. Go ahead and put some epoxy on that too. Just like that. Well, you know he's bringing tools back. Go ahead and set that on the bench there, buddy. Fill this up. Just set it right there.
Oh.
I don't want your rollerblades back here. Accidents happen. careful not to get any epoxy. There's a blind nut down on the bottom of this for the tail wheel mount. We just want to be sure not to get any epoxy on that part of it. So, just trying to get stuff done is almost an impossible task, evidently. Sometimes I think it'd be nice if they just worked her straight through lunch instead of giving her an hour, 2 hour lunch break, because then my phone blows up. Didn't hear a word from her at all yesterday, but today it is just nuts. Again, getting epoxy everywhere. Now we set it. Just like that. Make sure everything is in place. I want to step back here. I want to make sure our tailplane is square to the fuselage, and that it is. Yeah, perfect. All right, I'm gonna go find some duct tape and take care of these kids. Okay, here we are. Our epoxy has set up, and we are continuing on with this build. I went ahead and put the screws into the tail wheel. It looks like it's crooked, but it's not. But all you do is just thread your screws in and make sure your wheel collar that's on here that we moved out of the way is up against the mounting bracket. That's what that does. That keeps it from driving in like so on a rough landing. So next we're going to go ahead and flip this fuselage over, and I'm going to attempt to see if I can find a decent way to mount the camera to where you can look inside, and we're going to mount a few servos. Okay, we have 3 servos to install, and what we're going to do, we took the top hatch off of the fuselage, and we're going to take a screw and run it through each of these holes. Now we have 3. I can't get the third one into view over here, but we're going to thread those, and then we're going to put a couple drops of CA in. How about I do this? I'll do one that you can see. Hey! Sorry, I had to yell at the kids. Little guy out of there. Just like that. Get our CA. Put a couple drops in there and let it dry. I want to do the rest of these, and we'll come back when it's time to put the servos in. Okay, we got our servos in. Went through, tapped everything with a screw, and then added some CA. Let that dry, come back and we install the servos. One thing I'm always asked is, how do you keep your wires organized to know what wire goes to what servo? You see what I did, I came out of the access hole here, and the wire going off to this side is the wire that goes to this servo. The wire coming straight out goes to this servo, and the wire going off to this side goes to this servo. It's really a simple way to do it. And I'll keep them there until it's time to either move them out of the way or whatever. But that's just how I keep them organized. Now we have another servo to install in this hole, but it's not time to do that yet. We're going to set up our control linkages and stuff next on our tail surfaces. But this is for our throttle. And another thing that I am going to do, I got to figure out how to do it, but I got to mount a micro servo or a mini servo and some power HD as well. Pull one out of the box here. But it's a little high torque servo, all metal gear. Alright, there, that little guy. We're going to mount it somewhere to run the kill switch. And what we'll do, we'll take the switch and mount it internally, drill a hole in it, and use the control rod to switch it on and off. I'll assign it to one of the channels on my transmitter. Okay, it's time to prepare some more clevises. We're going to prepare 4 for our elevator push rods. Go ahead, what I've done, go ahead and get your long push rods. They will, well, they'll be the longest ones in the box. And go ahead and run them through your fuselage and make sure everything's good and clear to go. I did have to clean out one of the holes on the right side, and just wasn't quite lined up really well, but real simple, just got the X-Acto knife and cleaned it out. That typical, why do we have a Sullivan clevis in there? I don't know if it's one of my old ones that wound up in there. It's kind of strange. But anyway, do our old fuel tubing slide on there. And I'm not going to show you what happens on the tail surface, because all we do, we clip it on the control horn that we installed, and that's that. All the work is actually going to take up here next to the servos. So we're just sliding our tubing on, and what we'll do, we'll put these on the servo side first and then slide them in. Or you could go the other way, slide them in next to the elevator. Just like that. Grab a control rod. Put that on there. Put a clevis on there. I think what we'll do, we'll go ahead and slide these in from the back side. And just poking about 1/8 of an inch up past the clevis. And then what I'm going to do, at this point, I'm going to grab a wrench and tighten that up. And you can kind of see the fuselage there. The upper ones are for your elevator, and the bottom ones are for your pull cable on your rudder. Okay, just like that. I'm just going to leave that set for now. And then we'll prepare the other one. They crisscross in there. So that's why your right servo will control your left half, and your left servo will control your right half. So, just had a chest pain and kind of dizzy. That's weird. Surely it's nothing to do with stress, right? And again, the same thing with this one. About 1/8 of an inch past. Slide up our jam nut. And what I'll do, just to kind of finalize everything, once I get everything set and where I like it, I will actually put a drop of glue back here to finalize everything, keep it from slipping apart. Is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pop these on back here. And the way I'm doing it on this one, they recommend you start in the middle. I'm going to go ahead, because I can program this thing any which way to Sunday, on the max throw on the old control horn here. You're going to have to drill these out. Yep. Here's your old center marker. Yep, I'll put her on max throw, and then in the radio I will program the throw. That's the handy part about having a computer radio. There we go. Slide that on there. Just kind of checking our motion here. This is the tricky one. The reason I check that range of motion is just to make sure we're not binding on our silicone tubing. Alright, we got our control rods installed. It's that simple. But now what we need to do is center our servos. What I do, I've got an old fast receiver here that will bind to my 14 SG transmitter, and I just really use it to center a servo when it needs to be done, like here. So I'll just take care of these all at the same time. And what I'll do, I'll just plug them into a gimbal switch. Like 1, 2, 3, or 4. Because the stick is centered, and as soon as I shoot power to this, the servo will shoot to center. Just make sure you don't have it on a throttle. It appears my battery's dead. About par for the course, right? It's okay, I've got another one. This is actually going to be my flat pack. It's a 2500 milliamp life battery. 6.6 volt. Go. Crap, I did put that one on the... Can't really see what I'm doing here. There we go, centered, centered, and that's all you need to do. Kind of see what's going on in there. I'll fix that here in just a minute. Okay, at this point we have our control rods in. Servos are centered and you're sliding off. Work with me. Okay, at least you can see the one there, right? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put a jam nut on these. Now remember, you can't twist these because they're connected in the back. Okay. Patiently get them on there, throw them all the way back to the back. Okay, that's getting annoying. Okay. This airplane's so slick, it's hard to find a good place to put you. Okay, I apologize about that. I just couldn't find a good place to put the camera. That's one of the downfalls to having a huge model. You're kind of limited on the room you have to work with. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and get some servo arms prepared. And I want to go ahead and do this right. Get us a heavy grit sanding block and some side cutters. We're going to cut all but one of these horns off. These things fly everywhere, so go ahead and kind of get rid of a little more excess, less sanding, all that kind of stuff. Just like that. Hey Ryan. Huh?
Can me and Ben have a Pop-Tart?
A Pop-Tart? Are you hungry?
Yeah, we're hungry. We just got done snowboarding.
Sure. Go right ahead, bud.
Hey.
Okay, now we're going to take our control horn once we have it cut down, like so. I'm just going to go ahead and get some sandpaper and kind of clean that up.
Is this epoxy?
Do what? Yeah. Our pastor at our church brought his kiddos by to play with our kiddos. So I'm a little exhausted right now. I've had a house full. This is day 3 out of the hostage situation. Tomorrow will be a little better though because the wife's going to be home. Kids actually have a 4-H project thing they got to go do. And that'll be just fine and dandy. And I'm just, I'm not going into a whole lot of detail. I'm just kind of smoothing up the rough edges so it don't look like total crap. Make it look like, left my transmitter on. Make it look like I've been doing this for at least a year. Always got a good one though, and somebody asks about something and you goof up when you're flying a little or something. Just tell them it's your first day. I had a old Byron original Christian Eagle hanging up and flew it, and it's 50cc airplane. And was out there buzzing around, and somebody asked me if it was my first day. In lieu of me always saying it's my first day, and I said, yeah, it is. It's the only trainer they had. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up these just a little bit. I mean, you want a snug fit, but you don't want it so snug it's not going to turn freely. I'm going to go ahead and put my control horn, or my clevis, on here. And always put your clevis to where the pin is pointing down. Though with these it's very unlikely, but you want gravity to work with you, not against you. And so you can go on ahead and putting that on there like that. You can put it in either orientation and everything will be just fine. Next is going to be our pull setup. I've only built one other pull setup, so that may take me a little while to study upon and make sure I do everything right. Alright, good and free, not too loose. I'll go ahead and slide my silicone up on that. That way I don't forget. Alright, now that we have our servo centered, let you look at my ugly mug here for a minute. This camera mount's going to piss me off. Now that we have our servo centered, we have our clevises ready to go. And it's very hard to find a place to put the camera in there so you can see what I'm doing. What I want to do, I'm going to take this and I'm going to screw this onto the push rod, like so. And then I'll cock it around and check it. And once I finally get it to where that is at 90 degrees, and this is over our servo, then I'll go ahead and bolt it on. Okay, that way I know when I turn the radio on, our servo centered. It's not going to go too far. But each servo is going to be on a channel. Friday I've got a 14 channel receiver. It's the R6014HS that we're going to use on this because I have 2 elevator, 2 aileron, 2 flap, okay, throttle, rudder, kill switch, possibly a smoke system, voltage meters. I'm going to have almost a plug for every hole on that receiver. I was going to go with the 7008 HS SHF FH. I don't know the 8-channel one, but I'm just not really going to have enough of. Got it right here. 2000H SB and the last one. Okay, let's try this again. I'll put these up 90 degrees. Go ahead and screw them on when it's at 90 degrees. And over the top of the servo, I'll snap it on. Sucks I can't get the camera in there for this. But maybe I can get a way to point it in there afterwards and get a snapshot or something. So I'll be back as soon as I get that done. Okay, it's time to start preparing our pull system. And what we need to do, we take our prepared clevis, in other words, it's got silicone tubing on it, and go ahead and install one of our cable anchors, which is just a threaded piece with smashed in with a hole in it. And oh wait, I'm jumping ahead here. I need a couple nuts. As if I'm not nuts enough already. There we are. Okay. Let's see, we're going to need 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And put these back up. Okay. We get a nut. We're going to go ahead and screw it on here. Old black oxide. It's that coating on there. All that is just glorified rust. Believe it or not, it's supposed to act kind of like a lubricant typically, or a protective coating. Got that down. We're just going to run this clevis on here to where it pokes out about 1/8 of an inch past our collar. About like that. Get that about 1/8 of an inch through there. And we want to, our clevis will grab a hold of our control horn like so. And we want that smashed in to be vertical. So we'll get that to that point, and then we'll run our jam nut up to it. Lock that in place. I'm really tired. I probably shouldn't be doing this. Okay, maybe I can film more than 5 minutes without getting interrupted at this point. These little brass pieces that came in the kit, don't throw those away. Those are needed. So we have our pull cables, the left and the right side. We can go ahead and uncork these puppies. I'll show you how to do one, and then I'll go through and build them. Actually, I think we need to do ends of one, and then feed them, and then do the other ends. But what we want to do, we want to grab one of our clevises, feed it. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I need to put a ferrule on here first, one of the brass ferrules. Okay. And then feed a clevis through. And then we'll fold it over like so. I'm going to try something here. I'm not sure those ferrules are big enough. Yeah, they're not quite big enough. What I like to try to do, if I can, is feed it through and then loop it back through to kind of buy like a little safety zone. But these ferrules, oh wait, they might be. We'll try it. Just kind of pinch that together, work it down. Like so. And then if you can, this is kind of tricky. I'm going to try to loop it back through. It gets kind of tight doing this. Ah, crap. Just not enough room. So we'll just conserve the space. But you definitely want to get it through like that. Now you get you some pliers. Then you want to crimp it, not cut it, but crimp it for sure. Those are the ones I want. Okay, I'll be back. Alright, that was my fault for not being prepared. But, oh my goodness. It's just not in the cards for me to do anything today. Give it a couple of good old tugs there. And that'll be good. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing to do the same setup to the other side. And then what we'll do, we'll rig up a servo arm with just 2 arms, and we'll feed them through the tubes, and then we'll actually apply the other 2 on the airplane. Just works out a lot better that way. See what the wife wants again. Okay, well, for the most part, we have some of our electrical done. Because of how big this thing is on the workbench and how much space it takes up and how bulky my camera mount is, I wasn't really able to video a bunch of it, but we will review what I've done. I've got to get some hook and loop tape, which I'm out of. I'll be doing that later today, and once I get it mounted up, I'll show you what I did and how I did it. But now it's time to move on to the motor. First thing we have to do, we have to measure up 1 3/32 and over 5/16 of an inch and make a mark. And we're going to drill a hole there, and that's for our throttle tube. So we'll go ahead and get that done. Get everything to hold still here. Okay. Okay, now we get our clear, throttle tube, push rod tube, and you got to drive it through a couple formers here. So you just kind of stick your hand up in where the fuel tank goes and kind of feel around, look and see where you're at. They actually have holes in here for this thing to slide through. And they are there, they do work. Just got to get to them, that's all. Okay. Sip of coffee before I throw something here. Uh-oh. There it is. May actually pay to go through the front because that one's kind of hard to get to. We'll see. I'll try it this way. I'll show you another little trick when that gets kind of interesting. Try to do it the right way first, which this isn't necessarily the wrong way, but it does work. Take your control rod and run it through the channel it needs to go. Just like that. Then take your tube, sometimes this works, sometimes it don't. The way this is behaving, you may not even really need a tube. Just like that. Makes life a little easier. What I'm going to do, we have a bay up here for the servo mount. I'm going to run that, see if they have a prescribed length before I just tell you where I would put it. So what we want to do at this point is leave about 1/8 of an inch poking out from our firewall. Alright, at this point we have turned the fuselage upside down to mount the motor. And I've already got our engine out and our muffler put on. Not for good, but it's on because I haven't Loctited anything. But we need to get our aluminum spacers, these guys. Okay, we got 4 of those. 4 bolts and a pile of washers. And this thingy, I don't know what it's for yet, but it's in there. Get our hex keys. Get the right size queued up. Go ahead and put a washer on all these. The same size. A washer and a spacer. This is kind of handy because honestly, when I built the Avistar, of course I didn't use the DLE that they recommended. I used an MLD 35, and I had to go to a machinist and have the spacer made, which is actually a plate, not necessarily an aluminum standoff. Oh wait, doggone it. Putting the cart in front of the horse, won't put the spacer on yet. Put the bolt through the motor. And we have a plate that the Evolution comes with that's already been matched up to the firewall. So really it's just a bolt on and go situation. And we can put our spacers on. Well, that came with so many washers. Number 10, need 4 of those. Okay. That's got a bunch of them in there. Maybe that was the guy's last day in packaging, or Friday. He didn't care. He just wanted to get them in there and get them done. Okay, I need to go find some Loctite. Okay, I'm back. I finally made it back from the hardware store and running the kids everywhere, and you just sat down to try to do something, and it's an act of Congress to get to do it. But I did. I got my Velcro. I got my blue Loctite. Now this is very important thread locker, especially when it comes to mounting a motor, because these things will vibrate loose. So go ahead and get our bolts put into our standoff on our motor here. I'll just kind of get you angled around here somehow or another. But we'll get our bolts put in, and then we'll slide our spacers on. This motor, I've heard good and I've heard bad, and I'm not going to knock it down. Here's why. Spent some time in a conversation with Peter Goldsmith, and he is the Horizon hobby pilot that initially flew this airplane 2 years ago when it came out on the market. And I asked him, I said, hey Peter, just a question. Don't mean to bug you, so I'll keep it short. When you flew the Valiant, was it the GX-33 combo on that airplane? He says, yes sir, it was. I said, okay, I've just heard people screaming bad things about this motor. I'm putting blue Loctite on our threads now. A little bit goes a long way with these guys. You don't have to paint it on there. But he says these Evolution motors, they use them at Joe Now on all their 30cc airplanes. And those motors run all day long. Good enough for me. That come from Peter Goldsmith himself, so we're going to give it a shot. We're going to mount this bad boy on here. So just get our screws started. Now this thing should bolt right up. According to Peter, he said you just put your Loctite on there and get her going. It was kind of a funny conversation. We both talked funny to each other. It's always going to be difficult in a bunch. Now you don't have to play. Oh, that changed the center of gravity big time. I'm going to have to slide this back. Yeah, he's from Australia originally. One of the hot dog pilots that Horizon put to work. He was actually a really nice guy. He took the time out of his day to visit with me, so me, I'm just nobody, you know. Man, this is when a regular Allen wrench set would be nice. You'd think I'd have one. But my problem is with everybody that likes digging in my toolbox, it's hard to keep individual stuff laying around. Fortunately, I had this on the bench over there and it works. So we're going to use it. I won't torque it down just yet. I want to get all my bolts run in. Just a little rough. Sometimes when they black oxide these bolts, they get a little, the thread size will actually pick up because it's a coating. Go ahead and apply the torque with this one. Remember, we're just sinking this into wood, so you don't need to go Superman on it. But you do want to snug her up pretty good. And shoot across. Work it down. Man, that motor is just pretty, ain't it? Whoops. Just like that. Okay, and we'll come back up top. Across. And just like that, boom, our motor's on. All right, I'm going to let this set for a minute, give that thread locker a chance to work. I'm going to go